So, Mike Reddington, Chief Exec, BSIA, welcome to The Voice of the BSIA podcast. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Liz, and I'm looking forward to our discussion and being part of the first BSIA podcast, The Voice.
It's very exciting, isn't it? So, firstly, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, actually, it may not be well known. I started my original career, I'm a qualified electronics engineer.
Right.
From a long time ago, and I spent initially 10 years in the TV and video sector, and then moved into computing banking, and then worked on mini and mainframe, but always had this desire to move into sales, so I joined the security industry, working for a company called Gardall, which the older generation may remember. And I've spent the last 30 years within the sector working for both SMEs and large corporates, with 14 years of my career spent with Honeywell, latterly running ADI UK and then ADI EMEA, and I've been at the BSIA for coming up to 8 years now.
8 years, wow. Fantastic. So, as Chief Exec of the BSIA, and this is going to be a really tough ask, in a nutshell, what does the BSIA do?
Okay, well, the BSIA is, like the British Security Industry Association, is a not-for-profit trade association that was established 58 years ago. Fundamentally, we operate in a sector that one would potentially class as self-regulated. And what I mean by that is that the BSIA works with its members and industry stakeholders to identify best practice. It then develops that best practice into a code of practice, and then that code of practice sometimes is submitted to the BSI to be developed into a standard. And the reason we do that is that if we don't regulate our industry, then there's a high likelihood that an external source will regulate the industry, and that could be a bureaucratic government department that may create in standards that could be commercially non-viable. And by creating those codes of practice and standards, it ensures there's a consistent level of professionalism and quality in delivering the safety and security for the general public and properties and places, so we can all go about our daily lives in a much more secure and safe environment.
Wow, that's a lot to unwrap.
Yes, it's not an easy one to answer within a very condensed time frame.
No, I did give you a bit of a challenge there, didn't I? Sorry about that. So, do you have any examples of, where the BSIA has done something, that gives us a bit of clarity about exactly what you do? Yeah,
I think one of the examples I am particularly proud of, and I'd need to wind the clock back by probably 5 years now, is that, as I explained previously, I come from the electronic security background, and I spent quite a bit of time in the video sector. And 5 years ago, all I ever saw was negative press around the usage of automatic facial recognition technology, which I didn't believe was balanced or particularly beneficial for the utilisation and adoption of technology. And what I mean by that one is that the automatic facial recognition technology has the ability to provide great benefits in the fight against terrorism and organised crime, if it is used in a legal and ethical manner with appropriate governance and compliance frameworks. But all I ever saw was negative headline press statements in relation to it. So what we did at that point is that the BSIA identified a subject matter expert to help us, which is a lady called Pauline Nordstrom, who assisted us in actually identifying the key benefits and utilisation of facial recognition technology. And collectively we identified somebody in government who was leading an all-party parliamentary group. And we reached out to this and it's a gentleman called Lord Clement Jones. We reached out to Lord Clement Jones and asked to actually have a meeting with him, because he was leading an all-party parliamentary group that was doing the review of facial recognition technology. And delighted to say he agreed to actually a meeting with us. It was during COVID, so we were due to go to the House of Lords, but then COVID kicked in, so as ever we did it through a virtual basis. And we discovered also at that point that a lot of people aren't aware of, there were 2 draft bills that haven't gone before Parliament, requesting an outright ban or moratorium of usage on the technology.
Wow.
Which again we didn't think was the appropriate. Now, we then met with Lord Clement Jones virtually, and our position was very clear. It is not the technology.
Yeah.
Now, the technology, if used legally and ethically, has great benefits to offer against a fight against terrorism and organised crime. It's about how it is actually governed. And pleased to say that Lord Clement Jones actually acknowledged our position and made the comment of maybe he and other members of this all-party parliamentary group may not know enough about the technology to potentially giving advice and guidance about how it should be operated, and extended an invitation to the next all-party parliamentary group meeting. So that was set for a couple of months later. Again, it was done virtually because of COVID, but we dialed into this next APPG meeting, which is the All-Party Parliamentary Group abbreviation. And when we dialed in, there was over 45 people on this call, and there was only 2 industry representatives.
Wow.
I was one of them, and Pauline Nordstrom was the other. The rest of the group were made up of politicians, academics, or civil liberty groups.
Right.
And you can imagine the direction that was going in.
Yeah.
And again, our position was very clear. It's not the technology, it's its governance and compliance and its legal and ethical usage. And we also referenced that Pandora's out of the box. The technology is already there.
Yeah.
Okay, and Pandora's not going back in the box. So we presented our case with very little pushback. But when we came off the call, Pauline and I had a discussion where I posed a question: did we believe that anybody sat round that table would write a legal and ethical framework for the usage of this technology? The answer to that was a resounding no. So to address that, and I agreed with that, so to address that, we brought members of our video systems section together, and it took 18 months, but that group wrote a legal and ethical guide that was published in February 2021 about the usage of automatic facial recognition technology. And it was the first legal and ethical guide of its kind globally, because video crosses borders with no barriers, with the exception of the technology platform of PAL and NTSC. So it got very positive response from the industry, also from government, with government signposting people towards its usage, and we also shared it with some of our overseas colleagues in COES and the SIA. The next stage of that was then to actually, we took that to the BSI and submitted the application for it to be developed into an industry standard, which, delighted to say, the BSIA was receptive of that, and they then created a working group, and we nominated a number of the BSIA members who sat on the group who wrote the legal ethical guide to participate in the working group of writing the standard. That took another 2 years.
Wow.
Which is normal for a standard.
Yeah.
And then that was published in about 6 months earlier in the year of this year. And the only thing that the BSI changed was the word automatic, because automatic, the public perception of automatic is like a delegation of decision making to machines, which they're not comfortable with. So the word automatic was dropped and it was replaced with facial recognition technology.
Right.
And again, that standard is now, as it was published 5-6 months ago, and I think the standard number is the BS 9347. But again, it is the first standard of its kind globally, which now allows the usage of this technology in a legal and ethical manner with the appropriate governance and compliance that enables us to fight against terrorism and crime. So for me, the key thing for that one, this is a standard written for the industry, by the industry, that allows the adoption and implementation of technology development to improve the safety and security of the world we live in.
Absolutely incredible. And that came out of the BSIA.
Absolutely.
Wow, fantastic. What would you say is on the horizon for the BSIA and for the security sector over the next maybe 12 months to 2 years?
I think the world we live in is seeing significant technology development and progression, and with the implementation of AI and analytics, and AI is touching every business.
Yeah.
And I think that the challenge and opportunity, I think, for the sector, along with other sectors, is how do you actually identify the technology, actually embrace the technology, and then adopt the technology in driving both efficiency and effectiveness of the services you provide. Our sector is, particularly on the physical side, is more physically orientated.
Yeah.
But I don't profess that technology will replace people. I think what it will do is that a combination of people and technology will enhance the service that our sector, our members, and those operating in the professional security sector deliver enhanced security and safety through efficiencies of adopting and embracing and implementing that technology usage.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. The development just in the last 12 months. I mean, we are fully embracing the AI. Copilot is my friend.
Absolutely.
There is no getting away from that. I have to admit it. But the way that it's now reaching into our daily lives is quite phenomenal, and the developments in technology are off the charts at the moment. So, very exciting times ahead, definitely.
Absolutely, and the sector we're operating is continuing to grow, and I believe will grow as the world we live in, to ensure we're living in a more safe and secure environment.
Very comforting to know, for sure. Mike, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us an amazing insight to what the BSIA do, and I look forward to our next podcast. But for now, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Liz. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.